This is Wrestling Republic. Wrestling Republic. This is Wrestling Republic.
Good evening from Swansea, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling, insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. And today it's Sunday, and you know what that means. It means it's one day until WrestleMania week officially starts, and I, for one, I'm pumped. It's my favorite week in wrestling, and we're going to be talking about a little bit of it later today. What matches, what WWE matches, and non-WWE matches we are most excited for this upcoming week, along with last night's episode of AEW Collision, where the Deathmatch King made his return to All Elite Wrestling. But first things first, let me introduce the panel, and let's kick things off with none other on an Easter Sunday than Clark Taylor. How are you?
Happy Easter to everyone out there. I'm super stoked to be here. I'm fighting a bit of allergies, but a little bit of pollen won't hold me down on an Easter Sunday leading into Mania week like this. I'm stoked, as always, to talk about it. Let's break down Collision. Let's do a little early Mania weekend talk, maybe not even WWE related. I'm excited about it, Ben. Let's talk about it.
Absolutely. Jesus has risen, and so has the pollen account. Also joining us, we have David. How are you, David Sheldon?
Hello, it's such a pleasure to be back. It feels like forever since I've last been on the show. Kind of life took over, and I've been doing so many different shows and events and all sorts of things that I've not really been around at 8 p.m. in an evening. But I finally am, and we can talk about a pretty good episode, a decent episode of AEW Collision with some good stuff on it. Particularly excited to talk about Cardona, but a consistently pretty solid show throughout. And yeah, I'm excited. And also, we're getting close to Mania weekend, which, like you, Ben, is my favorite week of the year. So let's get at it.
Absolutely. I am pumped. I'm pumped to have you back on the show, David. And somebody else I'm pumped to have back on the show is Soul. How are you doing today, Soul?
You're all too loud. Seriously.
Oh, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
I mean, I don't even remember I was meant to be on here. Literally, I woke up and just saw the chat and I'm like, oh, I'm on? I don't remember saying I was going to be on. God, last night, literally, I mean, you all probably know more than me because I can't remember anything. Literally, I can't remember anything.
I received a text from Soul last night at I think about 4 a.m. saying, put me on the show tomorrow. All spelled in capital letters and with the word tomorrow spelled wrong. Although, I will say this, you corrected yourself, so you were sober enough to correct yourself, which as far as I'm concerned is sober enough to say you're doing the show today. We have a comment here from Bobby Batista saying, Happy Easter. Happy Easter to you, Bobby. I hope you're having a great day. We've also got him saying, Danny Luna wrestled against Alex Windsor at Rev Pro today in England. I mean, I will say this actually.
It was a good event, apparently, the Rev Pro show.
I'll need to check it out for sure, David. I mean, I will say this about, today. It's one of these rare occasions when nobody doing a show is actually in England, because I'm back home in Wales.
No,
David's in Wales.
No, I'm in London. Sorry, Ben. I haven't gone home. I'm still here. I was so
almost had it.
I was so excited. I was like, yeah. Oh, no, I am still here. I haven't gotten the bus yet.
You had to look around and remind yourself.
Next week. Try again next week.
I don't know. Actually, hang on. I don't know if I'm still under the influence here, but David, do you always have a beard? Or I just come crazy?
Yes, I do. I do 85% of the time, so I do frequent the beard. It will go eventually. When the hair grows short, the beard will as well. But for the time being, I'm going with the old man under the bridge look.
I think I'm going to stick to water during Mania week.
Oh, gosh. Well, Soul needs water to return to his life, but Matt Cardona has returned to AEW's because last night he answered the Cope Open. Adam Copeland, that sociopath, open challenge for the TNT Championship, and him and Matt Cardona. I don't know what Matt Cardona described last week as a dream match for him. He said his biggest dream match right now in wrestling is against Adam Copeland. We then did an Instagram post about this, and Matt Cardona shared that to his Instagram story. So, hey, we'll claim we had a part in this. In reality, I think he also shared a million other things saying that, so maybe not. But we'll still say it's us. But yeah, these two guys, they put on a brilliant, brilliant match. But the big question is not only about, their match, but it's also about, should Matt Cardona sign full time to the AEW? Clark, give me your take.
I loved that it was Cardona. It was kind of teased earlier in the week. It made a ton of sense. It reminded me of Cardona and the Cody stuff from way back in the day in AEW. I dig it. I loved the entrance, all of it. Adam Copeland's facial expressions were brilliant. During the entrance, the match itself was great. I loved the classic spear finish. He gets the win over, the old edgehead, as I like to say. But I dig the whole thing. Do I think he should stay in AEW or have a run? Totally, as long as he can still be the Deathmatch King and Indie God and run all of that stuff. So it's got to be a unique scenario, a la Moxley, and we've seen it in AEW plenty of times, but I don't think he needs to necessarily just slide seamlessly over to the AEW roster and stop working independent shows. He needs to do both and use that as a part of his character inside the context of AEW. That's the route that I would go. So some sort of unique deal, unique to Matt Cardona, because I think the most brilliant character, even though he is the guy that built the social media viral stuff at WWE and all of that, the most brilliant character he's had has actually been this most recent run on the indies, refusing almost to deal with bigger companies unless he's, his hand is forced, like an opportunity to wrestle for the TNT title against Adam Copeland, almost as if he's a part of AEW, but reluctant because he's still the indie guy and he's still the deathmatch guy. I'm all for that. As an addition to the AEW roster, it makes tons of sense, but it also quells they're just inflating the roster, more big names, more ex-WWE names. If his character is reluctant, I love that. It's a little tongue-in-cheek, like, oh no, I don't even want to be here, but I am. And that's the route that I would go if it was my choice with if I'm Tony Khan here, and if I'm Matt Cardona for that matter. I think that'd be the best work he could put in.
I mean, from Matt Cardona's perspective, I honestly think you're bang on right there, where he should be like, I'm the indie guy, but when, time is right, I will show up in AEW. I will show up in TNA. I mean, hey, if I'm Matt Cardona, I also at times maybe want to show up in WWE for a Royal Rumble, something like that. For WWE themselves, that maybe doesn't make as much sense from a business perspective. But for Matt Cardona, that character, that being his thing, where he'll go to big promotions when it makes sense, but the most of the time he'll just be killing it on the independent scene, I think is genius for him. Because not only does that build and establish his brand, but it also helps these independent promotions. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Independent wrestling is the grassroots of the professional wrestling industry, and it needs to be protected and nurtured. And that's exactly what Matt Cardona has been doing. Bobby Petito wants to see Matt Cardona bring in Steph DeLonda to wrestle in AEW's women's division. I couldn't agree more. That would be great. But David, you are the AEW Collision reviewer. What did you think about this?
So first of all, I want to say I have more respect for Matt Cardona than I do most people in the industry, because the man got released in 2020, floundering and not doing anything. He came to AEW for a brief run, didn't do anything really. Felt a little bit, if I'm being honest, like he was there because we know he's friends with Cody. And that's a shame, but that's what it kind of felt like in the first run. He went away, built the indie king gimmick, and has been one of the backbones of independent wrestling for the last few years. And you heard it when he came back tonight. He got Holy S chance. He got a massive reaction, a bigger reaction than I think he thought he was going to get from the sounds of his post on Twitter. So I thought the match was brilliant. I think it's probably the best because Cardona, while I love his gimmick and he's had some really good matches on the indies, he's not a 5-star machine. You know, he's not somebody who's going to pull out 30-minute classics. That's not his way, really. Cardona, he is he will use underhanded tactics. He will use whatever he has to get his way. So I think this was the best match he's had in a long time. And I think it's one of Copeland's better better TV matches we've seen from him in a while. I love the spear into the Rough Rider. That was so cool. So many just great spots. At one point, Copeland went for a spear. Cardona got out the way and he flew into the turnbuckle. And it's just, these guys know how to build a crowd. They know how to build intrigue. They know how to build this brand. Cardona is a master of stage presence for the character that he is building. And I just thought it was really brilliant. I love the tease after the match for the House of Black stuff as well. That's great. I think the Dynasty match makes sense. That's all great. So yeah, big fan of it. As for Cardona's status in AEW, I completely agree with Clark. I don't think a full-time run in AEW will do Cardona much good if he exclusively went and wrestled over there. I think if you can meld his brand into being an opportunist who will go to the bigger companies when he needs to, I think that's a really good gimmick, because we haven't seen much of Cardona sort of going to those major companies since his release, outside of his run in AEW last time, which felt quite separate. So I still want to see him on the indies. I think he's too valuable to the independent scene. But equally, what I'll say is the main priority for Cardona is Cardona. So as much as I want Cardona to stay on the indies, as somebody who watches a lot of that stuff and who enjoys being able to see him wrestle Danhausen on a random GCW main event and get all these weird, he's wrestling Blue Cane or something, next week, him doing this sort of gimmick is great. But if he wants to make more money, and the way to make more money is to go to a big company, if that's what's going to protect him and his interests and his family's interests, then I've got, he should do what's best for him. I think as a wrestling fan for his character, I would say exactly as Clark said, do occasional appearances in big companies, but for the most part, stay on that circuit and stay that backbone of indie wrestling. Because I think right there, he has got that it factor and that specialty that not a lot of people have right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a great point. And I mean, financially, that is also, a great point as well. I will say this, though. I honestly think he's worth more to these independent promotions than to AEW or WWE right now. And yes, they have more money to give out, but because he's working at, a variety of different independent promotions together, that money and the value that he brings in for them, I honestly think maybe that amount could rival, but it's also more traveling as well. So, it's kind of a push and shove situation here, but I don't know. I agree with both of you guys.
It's like less guarantees too, though, and more negotiations. That's the other thing, right? If you're negotiating every single appearance as opposed to a contract over a number of years, that's true. One of those things that could wear on you. That's the only other factor I would add to that. But I do still, David, I'm on the same page and same Ben with he's so good for the independent scene, and it's his character now, right? Yeah. It's now become his gimmick.
No, you are bang on right. And the contract thing, that is a great point as well. But what is the one thing that Soul, Matt Cardona, and Tony Khan all have in common? They all love playing with action figures. Soul, what was your thoughts on the return of Matt Cardona?
Well, I was lucky enough I got to saw this twice for the first time, one under the influence and one when I woke up this morning. So it was a very joyful thing to see.
Two different experiences.
The room stopped spinning now, so I can get to work. Here's the thing with Cardona. Cardona's in my top 5 of wrestlers of all time. I know people are immediately going like, "Oh, Taker, Sean," and it's like, "Yeah, sorry, you're not the Michael Jordan of action figure collecting, so quiet." But with Cardona, I think Cardona is somebody that I think if you were trained to be a wrestler, he's someone you could look at a template for. Yeah, you had a time in the big companies, but his release, he went and reinvented himself. Yes, he did the AEW thing, and I think at that point he was still being Zack Ryder. It wasn't until GCW Zombie Walk 2 where he went against Nick Gage on a whim and then won the GCW championship that then led to the Deathmatch King, the Indie God, the Indie Collector of Belts. So many things. And there's even the Underwriter, which is a character who's basically like just Undertaker, Zack Ryder that he's doing as well. He's got his internet championship gimmick that he's made for himself and Steph, the women's internet champion as well. He's got Jimmy Lloyd as his Brewski character, which is going on with GCW. I definitely do think if AEW were to sign Matt Cardona, I think it would be a huge loss for the indie scene, because I feel like Cardona is what I would call an indie draw. If you're an independent show, you could have your local guys on, but you put Cardona on in that main event or whatever, that's going to sell tickets because it's Cardona. He's basically the independent guy that is just going on and decimating right now. And if he was to sign AEW, I would love his sort of gimmick of like, he's always one like, well, I am a king of this land, so I'm going to go there. So say if All In came for the weekend, we could just see Cardona just go to like a Riot Cabaret or a Rev Pro or a Progress and just be like, yeah, I'm a king. I'm just coming back to see the common folk of my land and see how they're doing, sort of thing. I think that would be fun. But I think Cardona is way too much beneficial to the independent scene that if he was going to sign a big contract with AEW, it would be a very big loss. But I am a Cardona fan. I've followed his things forever. You know, I remember his Figure Out series on the WWE Network. I remember seeing him get released and being absolutely devastated. I saw him in AEW when he debuted and had a pay-per-view match as well. And I was like, yes, I want this. But then him going and doing the whole independent scene, joyful, just absolutely joyful. I mean, Cardona is, I just can't, what can I say more? Cardona is probably one of my favorite wrestlers of all time.
I love it.
Oh, that is great. And I mean, there are certain wrestlers, I think, in this industry which, really pull on personal connections because they have, I don't want to say niche following, but a hardcore following. And Matt Cardona is one of those guys. And I think the fact that he's done stuff outside of WWE when he was there, such as the action figure stuff, in addition to then him, like to everybody's point, he left WWE, he tried AEW out for a little bit, and then he went, hang on a second, no, I'm going to do things differently. The fact that he does things differently makes him stand out, and because of that, I feel like he has, a bit more of a hardcore following, and I think it's really, really great, and it was great to see him last night. We got Piers Kiernan in the comments, who's also hungover as well, so you're not the only one. And Josh Markowitz saying you have the most chill broadcast setup of all time.
Also the most expensive setup apparently as well. So I mean,
there's a lot of belts and everything in the background there. You can see. Oh, that belt. Oh,
I like the dartboard.
Guys, we're discounting my gorgeous blank wall.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to sleep. I'm just going to sleep here on my desk. I'm just going to sleep here because it's very cold and relaxing. So
blank wall and radiator combo.
I've got another Taylor bobblehead.
We've got a few more comments here. Bobby Matito is saying it's great to see Matt Cardona wrestle for the TNT Championship. No doubt about it. And yeah, I think Soul was out last night, Pierce. But now let's move on because I want to talk about the tag team tournament AEW is having right now, because of course Sting and Darby, Sting retired, Darby Allin went to go up a mountain, got injured before he could climb it, which was actually safer than climbing it, which is the weirdest statistic. But anyway, he's now recovering, he's safely recovering, but still we need some new tag team champions in AEW. And one side of the bracket, well, we kind of got a little bit more insight into it last night because FTR faced the Infantry, and of course the Infantry are the underdogs in this tournament, and in this match they were booked like the underdogs, and it was brilliant. But I couldn't help thinking the way that they booked it, hey, why not have the Infantry have a shock win here as well? Why not have them go to the final? And hey, if the idea is to have FTR win the tournament or have FTR Young Bucks in the final, at least have FTR on the other side for this week, and then have, the Infantry get a win this week against one of the teams on the other side. Because having an underdog story, you kind of need more than one win. But still, for what it was, I really enjoyed that match. I cannot really say the same about Top Flight versus Ricky Starks and Big Bill. Of course, seemingly something went wrong in this match. Ricky Starks was pinned. He didn't kick out, but the referee said, hey, you kicked out. They then did a couple more moves. Ricky Starks looked okay. They pinned him again, and the referee did the slowest 3 count I've ever seen, and Ricky Starks and Big Bill lost. Top Flight won, and then they hit Ricky Stark's theme song. It was just such a mess. I mean, obviously, I hope Ricky Starks is all right now.
Right.
Hopefully, he will be. Hopefully, we'll see him again very, very soon. But Top Flight to Through and Clark, I don't think that was how it was meant to go. What were your thoughts?
So funky. The first match I'll talk about just like really quickly. I loved the handshake at the end. Like, to your point about infantry, maybe more than one win would have been nice, but they did put him over in that way with the respectful handshake at the end, and they put on a great match. Second match, what in the world was that at the end? What are we doing here?
April Fools came 2 days early.
I don't know if it was a ref botch, if it was Starks, if it was audible, if Starks was hurt. I don't know what happened. I think the only way you save this at this point is have Ricky Starks get upset that he had the ref in his pocket and that he faked the first count and then slow counted the second, but it wasn't enough. I would love that. That's the only way you save this. I don't know what it would be or how you do it, but it was so awkward. And for 4 really good performers, it was just beyond awkward. So I'm like, maybe, that's the story I think you have to tell coming out of this is like Ricky Starks and Big Bill paid off the referee and he didn't do his job. Maybe try to make something of that in some way. But I don't
That's
even
actually,
know.
sorry, Clark. That's a great shout.
Yeah,
I actually really like that.
It's a good idea, right? That's the only thing I could think of to like salvage it would be, you have, well, dude, I paid you all that. Give me the money back. Do a segment next time you have it, right? Like, whoa. Again, it was a slow count on the second one. You still counted it. And then you tried to save me the first time, but if I'm going to be paying you, get it right and then work something out that way. That was the only thing I could think of to salvage this, just because. And what's brutal about it is it was a solid match until the finish, but you just can't get past that finish. And the amount of DDTs at the end there just like is like, all right,
weird.
We get it. There's the DDT. Yeah, funky, but I do think, the one route that I presented there is the one that I could possibly think of to save it. But other than that, it is nice. I love Top Flight, so it'll be fun to see him wrestle again. But it is funny because it appears cat running. It appears so obvious that was not the plan. And so I'm hoping that they somehow prove me wrong on that or figure something out. I'd love that.
I think it would be really, not that we encourage drinking, we don't in any way, shape, or form, but if anybody wants to do a drinking game while watching WR Daily, taking a shot every time you see a cat run in, I actually think could
be a fun game.
You might, if you binge watching some episodes, you might be in trouble. But we've got a comment here, from Bobby Petito saying that he thought Big Bill and Ricky Starks were going to win. I think a lot of people thought they were going to win as well.
No doubt
but at
about
the end of the day, you guys can win, and you guys can win with Next Level because they're about to do another giveaway. I believe it's getting announced tomorrow, if I'm correct. We'll be doing a post about that. But if you guys don't know what Next Level is, let me lay it down for you. There's too many links nowadays. You're thinking, oh, I like these Wrestling Republic fellas. I wonder where I can follow them. You got to search us up on Twitter, search us up on Facebook, search us up on all the platforms. It's
Instagram.
Just a little, it's too much. I don't have time for that. I need to eat all my Easter eggs. So, hey, we teamed up with our good friends over at Next Level, and boy, oh boy, did they have the solution for you guys. All our links, all in one place, exclusive content, all that stuff, and more. Giveaways, like I said, and all you guys need to do is go to nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic to see all our content across all platforms linked in one place. It's easy. Once again, nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic. No doubt about it. But now let's move on, because there's no doubt that I am a huge fan of Thunder Rosa, and last night she was back on AEW Collision, and well, It was an interesting one. She faced Lady Frost, who I'm also a very big fan of. But David, you were the reviewer. You reviewed this match. What did you think?
I liked it. I think it was one of those matches where the whole point was to give Thunder Rosa momentum going into next week's Dynamite. She's going to face Mariah May. If I'm being honest, a lot of it got lost to the picture-in-picture, which is fine because fine for us in the UK on Triller because we can see the picture-in-picture. Although the problem with picture-in-picture, of course, is that they don't try as hard in picture-in-picture because why should they? They don't have to.
It puts me to sleep. I'd rather watch the commercials.
It does. To be honest, I'd rather watch the commercials as well. Sometimes they don't, but sometimes I remember there was a Bishop Court. There was a Gates of Agony match where they just kept going through the picture-in-picture. And the same with Ospreay and Fletcher. They were doing stupid moves during the picture-in-pictures because Ospreay just doesn't work picture-in-picture matches. He refuses. But I thought the match was decent. I think it was a little bit slow in places, but I actually did really like the power dynamic between the two. I thought that they worked very well together. They had good chemistry. And I think it was a match that served the purpose it had to. I really liked Toni Storm's promo afterwards with Mariah. I do think that Rosa will win next week in that number one contenders match. And I think they're just starting to plant the seeds with Mariah of sort of she could usurp Storm if she wanted to, but I don't think she's going to yet. I think there's a lot more mileage in that. I think Storm and Rosa is the right match for Dynasty. I think it'll be a really good match, although I've said that about a lot of Storm's matches over the last few months, so they haven't quite delivered for me, no matter how much I love her character, and I do. But I like this segment reminded me why I love Toni Storm so much. I just hope that the match itself gets a bit of, gets a chance to shine because they're both really great wrestlers. It's a match that I enjoyed and did its purpose, but no more than that. It's to build for next week.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I agree completely with you on it. And I also agree with you on the Toni Storm thing too, where she's telling a great story, but the matches maybe aren't being given that much time, especially because she's, working a much slower pace now. If you're going to work that slower pace, you need more time. And just something about it's not working, and that certainly isn't the character. I just think they need to figure things out, and hopefully they do, because Toni Storm, Thunder Rosa, that match is pay-per-view worthy. If anything is pay-per-view worthy, no doubt about it. We have Phoebe Crew agreeing there, and we've also got Bobby Petito saying, I liked watching Thunder Rosa. I hope we see her against Alex Windsor one day in an AEW ring. Oh, I'd certainly like that as well. And also, Bobby, you mentioned earlier on Danny Luna. Danny Luna versus Thunder Rosa, I think, could be a fun one as well. But now let's move on, because Soul, I want to get you back in, because I want to talk to you about a trio which I thought had a lot of potential, but they've kind of lost, I think, every match they've been in, and that's the Righteous and Lance Archer. These guys together, they should be, great stable. On paper, they have the look, they have the feel, but they don't have the wins, and they don't have, I guess, the star power. I thought they could build that. They've not been booked in that way, but in the main event last night, they faced Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli, and Shibata. It was a main event which did its job, but I'm going to be honest, I didn't think it was anything too special. And I can't believe it, considering I'm a fan of every single guy who was in this ring. But I just wasn't that interested. What were your thoughts?
I thought it was a fun match in general. I do want to give props to Danielson and Claudio, because they were in Mexico like literally a day before.
They were.
So props to you boys. Well done for traveling. Hope you enjoyed the duty free. But another person as well. There's actually one person in this entire match that I was shockingly impressed by on how good they were. And that was Dutch from the Righteous. Like, he just picked up Lance, popped them, and then what the boss handle slam he did to Danielson as well was like a thing of beauty. I was like, damn, this guy is pretty damn solid. With regards to Lance and the Righteous, I've really enjoyed the Righteous's character. I remember when at Final Battle 2021, they came out, and I was just very hooked by the whole gimmick, the whole theme, and everything. I really enjoyed it. And then they lost the trios titles to the boys and Dalton Castle. They were gone for a wee bit. They were doing something else, and then they returned at Supercard last year. And since then, they've done some good stuff, I would say. I know they had the feud with Bert the New Baby. They had the great feud that I really liked in Ring of Honor with the Dark Order and Stu Grayson. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was really fun. And maybe they've been injured. I don't know, because they've been hyping them up a fair bit as well on video packages during AEW programming. So maybe they were injured for a wee bit, and then they were just hyping them up again. And I know Lance been doing stuff abroad and other shows as well. I hope we can see something from these guys. I think they would be a very entertaining trios to have and build upon. I just think obviously with the Righteous being associated with Ring of Honor and being featured on Ring of Honor programming for a fair bit, it's hard to make that balance of, are they mostly Ring of Honor guys? Are they AEW guys? They are featured on the AEW roster page. So are they now AEW, but then they're going back to Ring of Honor? So it's a bit of a hard thing to fully
It's true.
cement, which I can understand why people would frustrate with that. But they did have a hell of a show. And, to say that you were in the ring and, I guess the best way to describe it, survive against Claudio, Danielson, and Shibata, you done fair play, boys. Well done. You done well. You managed to get it to the end of the show. So you done well. But I want to ask you a question, Allison. I'm going to fire it back at you.
Go for it.
I know you're a fan of Mr. Shibata. You love to see what he does. So I want to know from yourself, they're building Shibata up a fair bit, don't you think? Where do you think he's going? Where do you think Shibata is going to be doing?
I actually don't think they're going to do anything specific with him. I think they're just I think they're just in a position now with Shibata where he's able to work weekly for them. And I think they're just taking advantage. They're kind of using him as the, plug and play player where you can just put him in wherever, he fits. Maybe put him with the Blackpool Combat Club as not a proper member, but an ally of the group. And then when you need him, he's there. But who knows? Maybe he will join them for a little bit before then feuding with each member as well.
I'll say one quick thing, and I want you to be calm because this is going to get you angry. So breathe in, breathe out, relax, think of pretty fields. That's Shibata versus Okada for the Continental Crown at Double or Nothing, or the Continental Championship. Sorry. Clark, you're the host now. Get on with the toast.
Do I have to do a camera? He's leaving.
Welcome to the Daily, folks. This is now a drinking thing. We're talking about lovely beverages today. We have a Pepsi Max here.
Oh no! I saw that match last time and they put on an absolutely banger of a bout. But like I've said it before and I'll say it again. Like, let's be real about it. Both of them were stupid in that match. They did stupid stuff, and it pretty much killed Shibata. It was a miracle that he survived. And I mean, the guy walked out using his legs. He literally walked to the ring like a year later in New Japan, and everyone was applauding. Nobody thought he could get to that level again. I'm sure they'll work a safer match. I'm absolutely certain they will. Maybe they want to right the wrong. Maybe they want to just have a match or whatever. But it's at the point where, like, listen, if they do it sensibly, I'm fine with it. That's the actual truth. If they do it sensibly, I'm fine with it. But it's risky.
That Okada match is that the original is an example of just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
Because it's regarded as one of the best matches of all time, like in Japan, for a reason. But it was not. It's a match that I have never seen and I will never see, because I don't want to support that. As horrible as it is, because I have so much respect for both men, it's not worth dying in a wrestling ring. It just isn't. It's not worth it.
Even to your point, like, dude, like, we make the old joke about, like, oh yeah, playing with your action figures. Like, they treated themselves as action figures in that match. Like, I've seen it. Like, it is sublime to watch for entertainment's sake. But there's that layer, like you just mentioned, of like, man, like, these people have families and and lives, and you're like, okay, like, there's a line, right? Like, you want to tiptoe on it, not leap over it like it's you know what I mean, like it's a hurdle.
And sometimes sometimes in AEW, right? And I love AEW as much as we joke, I love it. Sometimes I feel like, and it's the best thing about them, but it's also can be a negative at times, how much control they give to the performers, right? Yep. And I feel like we saw it with Shibata Osprey this week as well, where sometimes they maybe do things that they shouldn't do because the performer is always going to say, hey, I think it's safe we do this. I know we can do it well. Let's do it. When sometimes, people just need to go, hey, we know you can do it well. There's no doubt about that. But there's a chance something just goes wrong.
I will say, though, because I was on the show the day after, and not to I won't make this take long, Ben, but I watched the Oscutter spot after we had talked about that Shibata match. That one I had less of a problem with than a few others. That one I thought was pretty flat and clean, and I thought it was okay.
Yeah, the bit in that
Shibata
match
sold it as if it was on his head, but if you slowed it down, the impact was not directly on his forehead.
The actual bits in that match that got me, because I agree, a lot of the stuff that you had issues with, Ben, I didn't as much, because I think a lot of the kicks to the head looked safe enough to me. They looked like they've been done in a strong way.
I agree with the kicks.
It was just when it was just when he was getting kind of it was simple bumps he was taking, and I was just seeing the way his neck was contorting backwards, and you just go, ugh! And it's the simple, and that's kind of something you have to take with Shibata in the ring now, unfortunately, is that you like moves that would not in any other wrestling match would not bug you in the slightest.
Right.
There's just that little bit of, he hit his head quite hard there, or did he? Is it good selling, or has he actually just whacked his head off the floor?
Yeah.
And that's why I do occasionally find Shibata's matches now more risky than is sometimes comfortable, even when they're making efforts to be safe.
Yeah. Well, that's a great point. And I mean, I watched that original Okada Shibata match live, and I loved it. I thought it was amazing at the time. I had a few concerns following the match, but I'm going to be honest, I thought they were selling. And then the reports came out afterwards, and like I couldn't watch New Japan for months because I was like, Shibata was one of the guys who, when I first started watching New Japan, I fell in love with him. I thought it was amazing. And yeah, I mean, performers sometimes don't know their own limits, but hey, going into next weekend, let's hope performers do know their limit, because certain performers are working a lot of dates. But hey, like we said at the start of the show, WrestleMania weekend, whatever you want to call it, is one of the best times, probably the best time in the year for professional wrestling. And this year, well, it's stacked. It's stacked, not just both nights of WrestleMania, not just NXT Stand and Deliver, not just ROH, but ROH Supercard of Honor, but also we have some of these independent events which are looking quite filthy indeed. I am hyped. We're going to go around the panel now, and everyone's going to say the WWE match they're most excited for, and the independent match, the non-WWE match that they're most excited for as well. I'll kick things off. The WWE match, which I'm the most excited to see WrestleMania weekend, is Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, because I can't wait to be right and for Roman Reigns to spear Cody Rhodes, and then we hear the 1, 2, 3, and we can hear the tears of the Cody crybabies just hit the ground. That tear splat just hitting the ground in Philadelphia. Everyone crying. Oh no, what's the Philadelphia crowd gonna do? I don't know, but I want to see it. That's for sure. But regardless, in all seriousness, this match feels like a big time fight, and a bigger wrestling match than we've seen in quite some time. The biggest threat to Roman Reigns' championship reign, no doubt. I don't think anybody can argue it, and I'm super hyped for that. Then when it comes to the non-WWE side of things, the DDT Goes Philadelphia is the show which I'm excited for. But the match, and I was really stuck between a few here, but I'm going to go with the DDT Universal Championship match. And by the way, they had that name before WWE did. And that is Mao versus Billy Starks. Mao is somebody who's been critically underrated for years. And I think Billy Starks has a point to prove. And I just have a feeling this match could be a banger of a bout. So kick things off. What WWE match and non-WWE match are you the most excited for?
Ooh, fair play indeed, son. You know what? I'm going to go with the WWE match quick. It's Seth and Drew. Yeah, sorry. Cody, Rock, meh. No, I want to see the Scottish man get his rightful deserved. Because I've said it before, Drew deserves a championship win in front of fans. He was robbed of that, deserves it here. As long as Damian Priest stays in catering, I'm absolutely fine with that. Now, for the non-WWE side, I'm going to go with a promotion that me and Allison are quite familiar with is Progress, because Progress are going to be at the Penn's Landing Caters in Philadelphia on the 5th. And the match I'm excited for is one that's got some guests of mine in, yes, guys, but I want to see them do well. It's a three-way tag team match for the Progress Wrestling Tag Team Championships. The champions, cheeky little, I don't know if I can I say buggers? Is that?
Yeah, you can
Buggers
say
is
that,
fair.
yeah.
The cheeky little buggers, which is Charles Crowley and his tag team partner, Alexis Falcon, against Sanity, which is Big Damo, and the guy who's Thatcher in the Sanity faction. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. And the people who I've interviewed, Sunshine Machine, TK Cooper, and Chuck Mambo, two great lads. They've held the Progress titles before, and they've held the Rev Pro tag team titles as well. Do I think it's their time? I would love to see, my boys win the tag team titles. But I do think with cheeky little buggers, they're on a very they've just started. They dethroned Spike Gervais boys for the tag titles. New designs as well, I believe, as well, which is interesting to see. But I'm excited to see where this is going. I think with Progress as well, they're putting on a banger of shows. I think like their championship match is what Kid Light calls versus Midnight Dries. Like Jesus,
Yes,
that's a bit of a banger of course. Definitely. Yeah, so avoid SmackDown or Hall of Fame. Go see Progress.
Well, I think Progress, it's not even that. Like, you can literally watch Progress like hours before. I think it starts 8 p.m. UK time, so 3 p.m. Eastern and 12 p.m. Pacific, if I'm right. If I'm not right, it's within half an hour of that, but I think I am. But tomorrow on the WrestlingRepublic.com, our website, WrestlingRepublic.com, I will be posting a list of the top 10 events which I'm most excited for WrestleMania weekend. And it's got the time, the date, and how to watch all of them on there as well. And that has, spoiler, Progress. It also has their partnered promotion, Defy, as well. It's going to be a fun weekend. But David, what about you?
So I am very excited. My Christmas. This is as somebody that loves independent wrestling. To start with the WWE match, I was tempted to go with some of the takeover of the NXT matches, but I am going to go for Mania because I can't. I am more excited for some of the Mania matches. I'm going to go Becky and Rhea because I think of the matches on the card, I think it is possibly the most likely to steal both nights. I think that Rhea needs it. She needs that. I don't think she's had a match at that sort of match of the year caliber since Charlotte last year. And even then, I wasn't as fussed on that one as everybody else was. But Rhea is one of the best women's wrestlers in the world. And I'm desperate to see it again because for a time she was my favorite in the world. Favorite women's wrestler. So I'm praying this is the one. And her and Becky, I think, should have amazing chemistry. I think it'll open one of the nights. I don't know which one. I think it might open night one, although there's also Jimmy. There's loads of matches that could open either night. For non WWE, God, this is difficult. I'm gonna go. I'm caught between which one's the best and which one I'm most excited for. I'll say both. I don't think either are going to be said. The best is Masha Slamovich and Sayuri from GCW, JCW, I can't remember the name of the show now, versus the world. GCW and JCW versus the world. Two of the best women's wrestlers on the planet, and they are going to kill each other, and I'm going to love it. They're going to hit each other incredibly hard. Joshi versus Strong Style. Going for match I'm most excited for, I can't remember what show it's on, but it's Paul Walter Hauser versus Sami Callihan. Just because I just think it'd be funny. I thought the Cardona match was really funny. So just it's Paul Walter Hauser. It's an actor. It's a wrestler. It's I love Johnny Knoxville versus Sami Zayn, one of my favorite Mania matches ever. Just give me some of that. Just give me hardcore nonsense. I'll be more than happy. Just quickly though, no Jon Moxley next week. This is his bread and butter week. It's nowhere to be seen.
I think I have a theory about this.
He's too busy.
And
He
I
needs a,
think
he needs a
I
rest.
think
Man's been working too hard.
Well, I think that's a factor in it, but I also think the fact that GCW's partnered with WWE for Bloodsport, I think, has meant that certain of AEW's top guys, maybe, I don't think they care about the lower down ones, but I think the top guys maybe have been ruled out. And John Moxley, after certain things he said about WWE, maybe that's ruled him out of it. That's my personal theory. You mentioned GCW versus JCW. And I mean, that event, I nearly put on that top 10 list purely for Masha versus Fury, but it just missed out because I'm going to be honest, that's the only match on that card I was excited for. But Clark, what's yours?
Okay, I would go with Roman Cody, but I already know the result. Cody's getting cut in half once again, and the Boo Birds will be flying. So I'm going to go with Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes. I'm super stoked about that match. Covering NXT every Tuesday. The rivalry's been delivered great. They're both awesome in the ring. They're both awesome on the mic. That's going to be an awesome main event at Stand and Deliver. The other one I'm going with, and this one to me stood out like a sore thumb in a good way. On the GCW Bloodsport card, Nick Nemeth and Speedball Mike Bailey. Speedball Mike Bailey is so good. And with no ropes, that thing is going to be a slugfest and exciting. And a lot of people don't know. Nick Nemeth kind of new back to the indies here, right? He's been in WWE forever. This is a Kent State 3-time all-conference champion, has the career high in wins, 121. High school wrestled with Gray Maynard, who was the roommate of Rashad Evans at Michigan State, who's the only guy that beat Cale Sanderson at Iowa in college, who's the head coach at Penn State, which is the best wrestling school in the United States of America. They win the national championship every year. He's got that kind of lineage. He's got that kind of a background. And to let him open up in an amateur wrestling type setting like this, it is not going to look like whatever that goofy underground thing was before, because he can really grapple. And I can't wait to see what he can do in a setting where he's allowed to show that. And it's not just the super kicks. It's not just the blonde hair, because I think he's great with that too. But we forget that this dude is that legit of a shooter. It's different than guys like Charlie Haas, Shelton Benjamin, other outstanding freestyle, folk style wrestlers, Kurt Angles, Bobby Lashley, right? You can name a million of them, right? Jake Hager. But it's different with Nemeth. I feel like he gets the least credit and has as good of a resume as almost anybody. And this is a setting where he can show it. It's a match I could not be more excited for.
I am hyped as well, Clark. I think you nailed it there, and you've somehow got me more hyped for it with that speech as well. But thank you guys so much for watching. Tomorrow, we're going to be posting the WrestleMania week schedule to the Wrestling Republic social medias because, hey, we're going to do a lot of shows, just like there's going to be a lot of matches. Thank you, Soul. Thank you, David. And thank you, Clark, for joining me here today. We will see you guys tomorrow. Pa, pa, pa.